Hi, I am Shankar. I am one of the characters of the play written by Satyajit called Fritz. And I'm going to tell you something that happened with me and my best friend Jayanto with a doll named Fritz. So, fasten your seatbelts while I tell you the story. Jayanto is my best friend, and Jayanto and I were talking and we were having a great time, and suddenly Jayanto turned silent. He became sad. I felt as if something is bothering him, and eventually I could not bear it. After one whole minute, I asked, Jayanto, what is it? Why are you so silent? And why do you seem to be in low spirits today? Jayanto was deep in his thoughts. I don't know what he was thinking. But as I interrupted him, he gave me an answer and I was not expecting it. He said that he was having a great time in this place we were in. And he said this place was truly awesome. I knew that Jayanto had come here long back. So I asked Jayanto about this place. I said, what is so good about this place? Do you know? You have visited here and you have spent time here, so you must be aware about the richness of this place, the beauty of this place. Are you aware? Jayanto sighed and he released a long, sad breath and he said, I have nearly forgotten. I had forgotten until we came here, but few memories are coming back to me, and I can tell you easily that this bungalow in which we are sitting, it's not changed that much. The tables and chairs and furniture, everything is just the same. Nothing much has changed here, but I can tell you that Jayanto's memories were coming back one by one. And as we were talking, as we were discussing and gossiping about his memories, the bearer of the bungalow, the caretaker, the servant of the bungalow, he came to us. He offered us nice tea and biscuits which were laid on the tray in his hands, and I used the kettle to pour the tea into the cups, and again our conversation continued. I was inquisitive about the last time he had come here before our current visit. So I said, when did you come here last? How many years ago? He said 31 years ago. That surprised me. 31 years is a long time. And Jayanto also told me that he was just 6 years old. He was a kid when they had come here. So, which is the place I'm constantly referring in these lines here? I'm talking about a place called Bundi, which is in Rajasthan. And where were we discussing and gossiping and having tea? We were sitting in a garden in the circuit house, which was in Bundi. And we had arrived that morning itself. So let me give you a background of who Jayanto was. Jayanto and I were old friends because we had attended the same school, we had attended the same college, and our friendship deepened. It went on deepening. And although after that our jobs changed, which means he worked in the editorial division of a newspaper. I was a teacher at that time. I taught in school. Our jobs were completely different, but we did not allow our jobs to weaken our friendship. We were still friends, and we still talked and gossiped and had a great time. So, whenever we talked, we discussed that if in case our jobs allow us to be free for some time, if in case our jobs gave us leaves or holidays, we want to visit this place called Rajasthan, because a lot of people visit, and Rajasthan can offer good history, good places, so we will visit. But there was a problem. Our jobs never released us together. Either he would be free, I would not be. Either I would be free, he would not be. But this time, while we were sitting in the garden, it had happened that we got leaves at the same time, and we decided that we will make the most out of it. My expectation was we will travel to all the great places which has rich history: Jaipur, Udaipur, Chittor. And I told Jayanto that why don't we visit these places in which There was so much to offer. There were kings and queens and palaces and whatnot. And why go anywhere else? But Jayanto kept me insisting, kept me thinking about a place called Bundi. Now, I was okay to travel with him because we were meeting after a long time, and the reason I did not object is I had read the poem written by Rabindranath Tagore, which is called Forts of Bundi, Fort of Bundi. I knew that there's a fort in Bundi which is definitely worth visiting, and that's why I was excited to see the fort and see how the place was. So I never objected. I said, okay, Jayanto, let's go and check out the place. And let me tell you, not many tourists visit this place called Bundi. But again, Bundi is beautiful. You should not disregard it. It doesn't have enough history, but if you go to Bundi, you will definitely enjoy. Bundi was perfect. One thing puzzled me. One thing constantly made me curious. Why is Jayanto behind visiting this place called Bundi? What is it that brings Jayanto to this place? And finally, while we were reaching Bundi, on the train, while we were talking, my puzzle was cleared. My question was answered. Jayanto told me that his father worked in the archaeological department, and as a part of his job, he has to visit places which offers history. And so he had visited this place long back, and now he wanted to visit this place again to see how much it has changed. Has it been modernized? Because when he came long time back, it was all Rajputana with kings and queens and palaces. So Jayanto always wondered, now this is what he told me, he always wondered if Bundi had changed. I don't know what the reason was, but this is the reason he told me while we were traveling in the train towards Bundi. Let me also give you a background about the circuit house, because I think that's worth sharing with you. The circuit house in which we stayed was beautiful. The reason why it was beautiful is it was made by Britishers and it was 100 years old. At least that's what I can guess from the architecture. It had only one story, and the roof was tilted. I mean, the roof had slopes, and there were tiles on it like it is in the traditional houses today, which are very old. And the room was spacious, the room had enough height, and if you wanted to see the daylight or the skylight, there were some small window like partitions which you can open and close via the hanging ropes inside the rooms. That was how it is made. There was this balcony facing the east, so that if sun rises, we can directly face the sunlight, which would offer health benefits. And opposite to that was garden, and there were so many roses, and every now and then when we passed by the garden, we could feel the nice smell and the aroma in the air. And behind those flowers, there were lots and lots of trees. There was this open space, and there were a lot of trees, and obviously wherever there are trees, there will be birds. Wherever there are no humans, there will be birds. So I saw a lot of parrots. I could see parrots everywhere, and I could also hear the peacocks, but I could not see them. Now, all of these things happened a little far away from where we stayed, outside the compound. And before coming to Bundi, we had made a plan. We had our own sightseeing plan. So day 1, we'll do this. Day 2, we'll do this, like we usually do with our families. We had similar plan. And this fort, let me tell you, is in between the mountains. Now, what is a fort? Fort is a place where people are kept safe, where there is enough storage for the food, for the extra items. In case of a war, people are safest in a fort. So this fort of Bundi is also in between the hills and mountains. And while we were coming on the way, we did see the fort, and we had decided that we will definitely visit the fort. And let's include this in our agenda. So we decided that we will take a closer look. Now, in this place, everything looked so old. It is as if we went back to the Rajputana era or Rajputana rule. Everything had some sort of traditions and paintings on it, and the streets were cobbled, which means the streets were made of pure stones, and the traditional houses, the old houses, had balconies on the first floor, and they were projecting out, so you could easily see the balcony. And there were carvings. Now, the people in the past, they were amazing artists. Okay, so you could see drawings everywhere, and obviously they were made by master artists, master craftsmen. And as we entered Bundi and looked around, I could hardly believe that I am coming from a place where there are machines and things are automated. It was very difficult for me to believe that we were living in the age of machines. Let me continue with my story with Jayanto. We entered Bundi. Jayanto usually talks to me a lot, but as we entered Bundi, he became silent. Again, I wondered why this is the case, what is bothering him. And sometimes, when people visit the place in which they are born, the native place, and when they depart for years and years and come back again, they feel sad. I know this fact. So I believe that this was the same with Jayanto. He came after a long time, and as the memories were coming back, he is a little bit depressed. And as I told you, Jayanto and I were together from beginning, from the school, from the college. So I knew that this man with me, my best friend, is emotional, is a sensitive guy. So I just ignored the fact that he was silent. Let me continue with our conversation and the incidents that happened in the circuit house on the garden where we were having tea. Alright, so suddenly he kept his cup down on the table and he said, Shankar, it's very strange. He said that first time he came here and he would sit cross-legged and obviously on the chairs of the kings, and he would feel as if he's the king himself. He would feel proud and he would act like a king, all those things that happen when we are a child. We imagine so much, right? So similar was the case with Jayanto. But then he said that now, when I've come here after a long time, after 31 years, these chairs look ordinary, these chairs look simple, and it was so silly. I should be crazy enough to think all of these things. And when I was small, I felt as if the hall is enormous, the place is enormous, the chair is big. But now, these things look so silly and small. I told him that's how it would be, because when we were a child, our bodies are small, our vision is small, so everything around looks big. But as we grow older, as our bodies gain height, gain breadth, things, they don't change. So we have grown, but the things did not, and therefore the things look small, isn't it? Now, after having discussed so much about Jayanto and his background, and when he came after a long time, we stood up after having tea and we went for a walk in the garden. But Jayanto suddenly stopped walking. That made me wonder, and after some time he said, Deodar. I stared. I again looked at him. Jayanto already had started behaving strangely as soon as we entered Bundi. But now, you see, he was walking with me and suddenly he stops and calls out a name of a tree. Again makes me wonder. So, then he said a deodar tree should be here somewhere, and he started walking away from me. He started walking somewhere at the far end of the compound and he started searching that tree. And then again, after some time, he was excited and happy, and out of a lot of excitement, he was jumping around and he said, it is exactly where I thought it to be. It is here. It is exactly where I thought it to be. He was shouting. I told him, Jayanto, where will the tree go? Does it move around? Is it mobile? A tree stays there, obviously. Why are you shouting? Why are you so excited? He said, no, that's not what I meant. What I meant is, in my mind I had thought that a deodar tree would be here somewhere, and it is there. And he was so impatient while he was telling me all this. But I wondered and I asked him as to why he is thinking about a tree when we are having a walk in the garden. So then he tried to recall some things. He said something had brought me here. Something. There are some vibes around this place, and all the memories are coming back. I don't know what. There is something which is telling me to go to a tree, a deodar tree. I don't know what that is. I think it's European. Now, again, I couldn't understand why he was referring something European. This is crazy. Jayanto is acting crazy. And then he asked me to ignore what he said and what he did and why he found deodar. So I ignored at that time. I said, okay, no problem. He has come back after a long time and his memories are coming back. Should be something. Let's just ignore. And then we had a good look at the circuit house because it was majestic. And as the day passed by, in the evening, we had a nice dinner and the dining table was oval like it was during the British era. And then Jayanto started telling me about the cooks in those days. He said cooks in those days, like 40 years back, was called Dilavar, and the cook which we had a bruise on his left cheek. And his eyes always were red. I don't know whether he was alcoholic or something, but his eyes were always red. That's what Jayanto remembered. And he said he cooked great food, excellent food. The food was lovely. So I can tell that Jayanto's memory were coming back one by one. And after having nice dinner in the oval dining table, we went back to the drawing room and started discussing a couple of other things. So then he recalled where his father used to sit and smoke cherut, and his mother where she sat and where she did her sewing and knitting. And he also remembered that there was a table on which there was always this magazine placed, right? And slowly and gradually he could recall many things. And the whole fascinating thing, the climax, is the doll. As I said, the beginning of the story, this is about Fritz, a doll. So gradually he came to the point, gradually he came to the climax and told me everything about the doll that he had when he was a kid. He told me that it was not an ordinary doll like the little girls, the dolls with which the little girls play, the Barbie dolls, and they make a good amount of publicity to sell them, and the little girls buy those and put on different clothes, and it was not an ordinary one. This doll that Jayanto had was given to him by his uncle who had arrived from Switzerland. What had happened was, Jayanto would travel from place to place, and Jayanto was just about to leave for Bundi. Just before that, just some time back, his uncle arrived from Switzerland to meet him, and he presented him this doll. And let me tell you the appearance of the doll according to what Jayanto told me. Jayanto told me that this doll was an old man, and the old man was always smiling and with big eyes, and it was so accurately made that it looked lifelike. Like there are certain other things, pockets, collars, socks, belt, buttons, and there were even little buckles on the shoes like we have it. When we wear shoes, we have buckles on it. So similarly, this doll also had the same set of things, and it was dressed in traditional Swiss style. And no, it was not automated. I mean, there are no certain features like when you press the button it would speak something, when you press another button it would move its hands. No, the only thing you could do is twist its limbs. That's it. So his uncle had returned from Europe shortly before Jayanto left for Bundi, and the person who gave this doll to Jayanto's uncle, he was joking when he gave the doll and said, "Call him Fritz. He would not listen if you do not call him by the name. Always by the name called Fritz. Now, to add to that, Jayanto said that I had a lot of toys. He told me that he had lots and lots of toys. But as soon as he got Fritz, all the toys were forgotten. All the other toys were forgotten. He would only play with Fritz because of the features, because of the eyes, the smile, and lifelike presence. And gradually, there came a time when Jayanto started talking to the old man doll, and he would spend hours and hours and hours talking to the old man doll. The reason is his eyes had such a look, his smile was so powerful that Jayanto, as a kid, felt as if this is not a doll, this is a living creature. So Jayanto started enjoying, and sometimes Jayanto also wondered that if Jayanto learned German and if he spoke to the doll in German language, then doll would respond back. So that was the level of intimacy Jayanto had developed as a kid with the old man doll. Now, right now, when he was describing everything about the doll while we were in the drawing room, he told me that it was all so silly. It was a childish fantasy. Jayanto said he doesn't remember, he doesn't know why he did all these things. And he also told me that he was not put to school, he was not admitted to school because he was young, and therefore he had all the time in the world to play with this old man doll, like talk to him. And he told me that his parents warned him because he would talk for hours and hours. So his parents observed these things, observed the abnormal behavior, and said, Jayanto, do not cross the limit. Why are you talking with an old man doll for hours and hours? This is silly. Stop it. Don't cross the limit. But Jayanto was adamant. And because he was the only child, only son of their parents, he was stubborn, and his parents gave him everything that he desired. And after telling me all this while we were in drawing room, let me come back to the drawing room where we were sitting. After telling me all these things, Jayanto became silent again. I could not predict any reason why he was silent after narrating or telling me the background of the doll. There was this awkward silence, and when there is silence, we focus on things again. So I started looking at my watch just to divert the attention. It was 9:30 p.m. and it was pin drop silence outside. It was already silent inside the circuit house, it being huge. And let me also tell you that there were no tube lights or energy saving lights or something. There were these lamps, and the lamps were constantly burning by the oil that it was poured into it. And we were sitting in a drawing room, and there was just this oil lamp that burned all the time. Now the story of this doll really intrigued me, so I asked Jayanto, what happened to the doll? Did you carry it with you? Is it there in your house? What happened to it? Jayanto was in so much of thinking, into so much of thoughts, that I thought he didn't hear my question. I thought he has forgotten me. He has forgotten my presence. He went back to his childhood memories. But he did answer. He said that he brought it to Bundi, and it was destroyed at this place itself. I destroyed it here, the place where we are sitting. I was shocked. I asked, why did you destroy the doll? Jayanto again released a sad breath, and he narrated everything about how the old man doll was destroyed. He said he was having tea once upon a time in the lawn area, and although he was not old enough to have tea, but still he risked it. He had a cup in his hand, and there was tea in it, and he didn't really know how to sip tea, how to have tea. So he tried, but the cup tilted and some of the tea fell on his clothes. And while all of this was happening, Fritz was beside it. Fritz was placed beside Jayanto and the tea, and as the clothes had got damaged, Jayanto had to run inside to change it, right? And when Jayanto came out with new clothes, and when he saw the place where he was sitting, Jayanto saw that the old man doll, Fritz, had disappeared. Now he was impatient. He looked around here and there and he could not find Fritz. Finally, he saw pair of street dogs, playing a tug of war with Fritz. The dogs were pulling Fritz from each side, and finally, he was able to scare the dogs away and retrieve his doll. But unfortunately, the face was not recognizable. The dogs had destroyed the face, and in other words, Jayanto told me that Fritz was dead for him, so he had to destroy it. I kept on asking more and more questions like what happened? What happened after that? What happened after that? He said, what could possibly happen? I arranged Fritz's funeral. So, whose funeral do we arrange? It's only of human beings. Now, this is just a toy. So, when he said he arranged a funeral, I was surprised again. I said, what do you mean by arranged a funeral for a doll? He said, I buried him under that deodar tree. So, now the mystery is solved. Why did he stop walking a couple of minutes back and talked about deodar tree? So he also told me that he didn't just want to bury that old man doll, but he also wanted to make a coffin, because Fritz did not belong to India, and in the foreign countries there are these coffins when people are dead. So he tried to find a small box like thing from his house, could not find it, so he buried him just like that, and the mystery of the deodar tree was solved. Finally, we went to bed around 10 after half an hour. When I looked at my watch, our room was a big one and our bed were so neat and tidy, so nicely made. I can tell you that the caretakers were great. They looked after us, and we had walked a lot on that day. So I was very tired. I'm not habituated to so much walking. So as soon as I climbed the bed and hit my head on the pillow, I fell asleep like a small baby. But after some time, there was this noise that woke me up. A little later, a noise woke me up, and I started looking around, but it was dark. There was just a lamp burning. There was just a lamp which was switched on in my room. I looked around impatiently to figure out what this noise was, and to my amazement, I saw that Jayanto was sitting up on his bed. And from the light of the lamp, I can easily tell you that he was anxious. He was disturbed. I again asked, what is it, Jayanto? At the middle of the night, you are sitting like this. What's the matter? Are you all right? Instead of answering me, he counter-questioned me. He said, do you think there are animals in this place? Do you think there are cats or mice in this place? And I said, now this place is old. This place is like 100 years old. There are these forests outside. Just look out of the window. There's greenery, and I can definitely tell you that there are cats, there are mice, there might be numerous animals around this place, or maybe inside the house. Why? What happened? Something walked over my chest, he said. I could feel something walking over my chest, and that's the reason I'm awake. That's the reason I'm sitting up like this. I told him that rats usually come out from the gutters and they roam around and they destroy the kitchens, but I've never seen a rat climbing a bed and walking over a person like it did to you. He told me that this is not the first time. This is the second time that something had walked over his chest, and this is the reason why he was upright. Then he told me that first time he did hear a noise near the window. So I told him that if you've heard the noise near the window, it should be a cat. Usually cats does such mischiefs. And he was still not convinced. Jayanto still was doubtful. In his mind, he could not believe that it is either mice or a cat. Then I asked him, when you switched on the lamp, didn't you see anything? Did you see anything moving? Did you try to figure out what it is? He said, I did switch it on, but it was some time after something had walked on my chest. I was scared at first. I didn't do it immediately. But when I switched it on and I looked around, I could find nothing at all. I told him that if something has come inside, it should be here. But because we have locked everything, the doors are locked, even the bathroom is locked. So if you think there is something inside our room, it should still be here. So I got up from the bed and I looked everywhere, behind our suitcases, under the bed. I could not find anything. Even the doors of the bathroom door was closed. So there was no possibility that something is inside the bathroom. But still, I said, let me take a look. I opened the bathroom door, and as I was trying to search inside, as I was trying to get into the bathroom, Jayanto called me out softly from behind. He said, Shankar. I came back to the room, and Jayanto was staring, looking at the quilt, something that he was using to cover himself. And he showed me some marks. He said, look at this. Do you see these marks? Now I bent over and saw tiny circular brown colored marks on the quilt. So I said, now these marks, these look as if there was a cat inside. Why are you so scared? There's just a cat walking over you. I think there should be a cat and must have been hidden somewhere inside the room. Do not worry. But Jayanto was not convinced. Something had deeply disturbed him. Now it was the middle of the night, 2:30. I was so tired. I wanted sleep. I knew that if I do not sleep, how would I be able to explore Bundi tomorrow? I need some rest. I need sleep. I was feeling tired. So to escape from all this, I just told him some soothing words. I said, don't worry, Jayanto. It should be a cat. It should be a mice. It should be something. Now this place is really old, so anything is possible. Why don't we just go to sleep and forget whatever happened? I switched off the light and went to sleep. But Jayanto was still upset. I was sure that he had a bad dream, and because all the memories were coming back to him, this was another nightmare. And because he was upset, now he had started seeing cats walking over him. And I slept well. I slept like a baby. But when we woke up and when I looked at Jayanto, I could easily tell that he had not slept. He was still disturbed. He might have been disturbed throughout the night. And if after that incident, Jayanto faced something, he didn't bother to tell me. He didn't bother to wake me up. That's what I felt. And I also thought that I should give him one of my sleeping pills and tranquilizers so that the next day at least he sleeps well. So we finished our breakfast at 9 as we had planned, and we had our own agenda. And on that day, we decided that we will see a fort. Now, the person who prepared the agenda, the person who booked the circuit house, had done a great job because our car was ready. The car was arranged at 9. It was right in front of us. It was 9:30 till we reached the fort, and again Jayanto started recalling things. The old memories started coming back. Fortunately, it was not about the doll, so I was relaxed. But in fact, his youthful exuberance and excitement had made him forget everything about the doll. So I was at least relieved that there are these memories coming back, but they are all good. They are all safe, positive, and sound. Now look at his excitement. This is how he would get excited and keep telling me about the place. He would say, there's an elephant on the top of the gate. Look. And the turrets. And here, see, this bed is made of silver, and there's also a throne. Can you see the picture on the wall? Such a nice picture. I saw it at the last time. I remember this picture. He was this excited. But within an hour, his excitement started fading for some unknown reason. And I was all alone. I got into the hall and I was looking at the chandelier, which was so nice and beautiful. And I was looking up, and then I looked down. I looked on the sides. I looked back. But Jayanto was missing. Jayanto was not with me. And then I asked our tour guide, I said, "Where is he? Where is Jayanto? Can you please tell me?" Our guide said, "Babu has gone out on the terrace." He said Jayanto was on the terrace. That made me wonder. This is a place where I am here for the first time, and Jayanto was here already. And why did he leave me like this and go to the terrace? And I went on the top, and Jayanto was standing absent-mindedly. He was lost into something. And I came near him. Still he is not reacting. I went very near to him and stood there. Still he is lost into something. And I call out his name, Jayanto. He lost it. He came out of his thoughts. And I was a little angry. So I said, "What on earth is the matter with you? Why are you all alone, standing on the terrace and not giving me any attention? And how could you not pay attention to such a beautiful place? Just look around. Don't you think this is a great place?" Jayanto did not react. He simply said, "Are you done with watching everything? Have you looked around? Is it really beautiful? So let's go back." Now, if I was alone, definitely I would spend more time in this place, in the fort, because just look at the fort. Oh my God, what an art. But Jayanto said, "Let's go back." And as he was disturbed and as he is emotional, I said, "Why not just go back and make him feel good? Maybe I'll come next time." And we went back to the circuit house. And there were some hills and some mountainous areas. And from where we were coming, the surrounding was all hilly. We were sitting at the backside of the car, and to make him feel comfortable, I also offered him a cigarette. But he refused. That made me wonder, why is he refusing a cigarette? He always liked cigarettes. And I saw impatience in his body movements and gestures. His hands were moving here and there. He would place it on the window, and then he would place it on his lap and start biting his nails. So I knew that when a person is nervous or impatient, only then he does these things and changes gestures. If there's a lot going on in a person's mind, only then he does these things. Jayanto was quiet by nature. I know that he didn't speak much, and his restlessness, his movements started worrying me, and I could not take it anymore. After about 10 minutes of silence, I again asked him, "Jayanto," I said, "if you share your problem with me, if you tell me what's going on in your mind, you'll feel better. Tell me what's wrong. Why are you behaving like this?" Jayanto said, "If I tell you, you will never believe me. So I think I'll keep it with me." I said, "Okay, just forget the believing part. At least you can share with me. At least share what's going on in your mind." He said, "Yesterday night when I had woke up, when I was sitting upright on my bed, you know what I feel about it? I feel that Fritz walked over me last night." There was very little. Fritz was a doll. And this man, my best friend Jayanto, is telling me right now in the car that Fritz walked over him over his chest. How could I act sensible? How could I talk sensibly to someone whose mind was obsessed with such absurd idea, such an awkward idea? Fritz walking over, a doll walking over a person's chest? Are you crazy? So then I just calmed myself and asked the question, "Did you see Fritz moving around? You didn't see anything, so how can you tell?" He said, "No. I can tell you that whatever walked on me didn't have 4 legs. You told me that it should be a mice or a cat. But I don't think it's a mice or a cat. Whatever walked over me had 2 legs, I know for sure." We got out of the car, and I thought that not only sleeping pills, not only tranquilizers, he needs some nerve tonic to calm his nerves. And therefore, I also convinced myself, I told myself that this is a 37-year-old man, and just because of his childhood memories as a best friend, how could I see him so much upset? I couldn't do that. So I should at least think about some solution. We reached our room and it was 12 o'clock, midnight. And I'm sorry, not midnight, but in the afternoon, because they had left at 9:30. They saw the fort, and in the midway they came back. It was still afternoon. And then I told him that let's take bath. I thought if we take bath, then at least Jayanto will feel good about it and he'll be calm. So I suggested him of taking bath, and he asked me to go first, and then he went on the bed. While I was bathing, there was an idea that came up to me. I wanted a solution anyway. So I had this idea. I said, and I thought in the bathroom while I was bathing, I thought, why not dig that area which Jayanto had buried the doll? And if there are remains, if Jayanto looks at the remains, he will be convinced that it was not Fritz. Now this idea was silly, but that was something I could do to stop Jayanto from being upset. At least this looked like a solution. So I shared with Jayanto. And one more thing I had thought while I was bathing. I thought there's a doll. Doll had metal pieces, and we have come back after 31 long years. So at least the metallic pieces would be there. If nothing, the rest of the things would have been, decomposed or maybe destroyed by itself. But at least the metallic pieces would be there. And I thought if Jayanto looks at the remains, then he would be convinced that it's not Fritz, and he would stop behaving like this. So I told my idea to Jayanto, and he seemed to like the idea. But after a little while, he said, who's gonna dig the ground? Are you going to do it? Where are the instruments? Where are the apparatus? Who will dig the ground, you tell me? I told him that you can see the huge garden. There are roses and there's whatnot in this garden. If there is a garden, there has to be a gardener. So let's wait and watch. Let's observe the garden. There must be someone taking care of it. Jayanto did not accept my idea. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no, but he went and had his bath at least. So I had to tell him constantly, Jayanto, take a bath, you'll be okay. Take a bath, you'll feel good. And he usually loves eating food. He did not eat that much. He just had a couple of chapatis with meat curry. I know he was fond of food and he used to eat a lot, but these thoughts would not allow him to eat well. And after lunch, what we did is we sat on the chairs, which was on the veranda that overlooked the garden. Right in front of us, there was this garden, and nobody else was there. No human beings was seen in that area. There was some awkward silence, I can tell you. The silence usually is comforting, but the place where we sat, the silence was really awkward, and I felt there is something in this place. So all we could hear is the animal noises, like the monkey noises and some birds, and we could hear all of these across the stone path. And finally, at 3 p.m., there was this man who came into the garden, and he was carrying the water can by which he would water the plants. So we assumed him to be the gardener. And yes, immediately we had a plan. We thought of asking him something. He was an old man. His hair, mustaches and sideburns were all white. Okay, and Jayanto asked me if I should ask the old man for digging up the ground. At this question, I raised a hand and went straight to the gardener, and I told the gardener everything about what we wanted him to do. We wanted him to dig up the place where Fritz was buried. I told him the idea. He was reluctant, and he said, why are you making me do this? What a silly task is this? Why are you, I'm an old man. Why are you making me do this? So I laid a friendly hand on his shoulder, and I said, do not worry about the reason. Just do what we are asking you to, and I will pay you. I'll give you 5 rupees. Now 5 rupees in those days was a big amount. So as I talked about the money, he got ready, and He relented. I called Jayanto, who was still sitting there on his chair. He was not getting convinced, and on top of that, he had these silly thoughts of Fritz walking over him. So, when I called him, I raised my hand and said, Jayanto, come here. This old man, this gardener, is ready to do our job. And he came to me, and I saw his face. There was some strange sadness, something that disturbed him. There was still there on his face, right from the moment something had walked over his chest. And I hoped that at least some metallic pieces would be found. So with a lot of hope, a lot of wishes in my mind to help out my friend Jayanto, we made the gardener dig that place. Alright, we went to that deodar tree which Jayanto was constantly talking about from day one. And Jayanto knew where he had buried Fritz. Roughly he remembered. So he said, this is the place, and let's dig here. This is the place. I said, are you sure? How do you remember it so accurately? He said, he just nodded. He didn't say anything. He said, yes, I am sure. He gave me a gesture. And then I asked them, Jayanto, do you remember how deep did you dig in? Do you remember the measurements? He said, at least I dig 8 inches, and then I had buried the doll. Now this gardener, he started digging. He started doing what I had asked him to. And he's an old man. He has, he knows everything about life. And he was laughing, as he lifted the spade. And he said, if there's a treasure in here, I would like to have some part of it, and started laughing. I laughed a lot, but when I looked at Jayanto, usually, when somebody cracks jokes, we laugh and look at others. I looked at Jayanto. There was no sign of any smile or laughter on his face, and it was the month of October. His collar was sweating. I was not feeling hot at all. But why is this man sweating in October? I observed all those things, and I related that back to those thoughts that he might have of Fritz walking over him. Now the gardener, he continued to dig, and my anxiety also rose because I wanted to show Jayanto anyhow the remains of the doll. And I was thinking, why there are no signs of the doll? While all of this was happening, a peacock from somewhere cried angrily. There was this harsh sound that a peacock made, and because of that, my attention went back to the peacock. I tried to look around and find the peacock who made such a strange, harsh sound. But at the same time, Jayanto also made a strange sound. I looked at him. His eyes came out. His eyes were bulging out of shock and surprise. And he raised his right hand, and his fingers of the right hand were also trembling, and he pointed me to something, and then his voice turned hoarse and rough with fear out of the nervousness and anxiety. His voice had changed. It was as if somebody scared him. And then he pointed his right hand and said, What is that? Even the gardener looked at what he had found after digging. The gardener had slipped the apparatus. The spade from his hands fell down, and then I looked at what was there on the ground. I looked at what they had found. I was amazed, disbelieved, and horrified. My mouth remained open as well. I don't believe in these things, but my mouth also remained open out of horror. What I saw was a nice human skeleton. We found a human skeleton covered in dust, 12-inch pure white, perfect little human skeleton. What I thought is we'll find some metal pieces and stuff, but what we found is a human skeleton. So friends, I hope you like my story. What happens after this is up to you to decide. If you have any questions for my story as Shankar, please let me know. I thank you for watching and I hope you have a great day.